After his grandfather's funeral, Marcus Langley didn't expect much. A few old books, maybe a pocket watch. Instead, the will left him the entire estate, including Langley timepieces, the crumbling antique clock shop that hadn't sold a thing in nearly 2 decades. The lawyer smiled politely as she handed him the brass skeleton key. "Wanted you to see the one in the back room," she said. "The one that never ticks." The shop sat wedged between 2 empty buildings on a forgotten street in Greystone Hollow. Dust coated everything. Clocks lined the walls. Cuckoos, pendulums, regulators, all frozen in time. Only one had been covered. A tall grandfather clock near the back, draped in a black velvet cloth. Marcus pulled it free. Unlike the others, it had no maker's mark. It's only a faint inscription in the wood. The clock was made of blackened oak, darker than soot, the hands frozen at midnight. Time ends when the 13th begins. He touched the cold glass. Somewhere inside, something shifted. Marcus returned at night. He couldn't sleep. His dreams had been filled with ticking sounds. Not loud, but insistent, like a heartbeat. 12 a.m. he was sitting in the shop alone when he heard it. Tick. He spun around. The black clock's hands had moved. Tick. They pointed to 12:01. He hadn't wound the clock. He hadn't touched a thing. Tick. Tick. Each minute passed in perfect rhythm, slow and deliberate, echoing into the air like footsteps behind him. At 12:13 a.m., Marcus stared in disbelief. The clock's hands should have reset to 1 o'clock, but they didn't. Instead, they moved to 12:13. A slow chime rang out, deep, hollow. Bong. The sound made his teeth ache. Bong? 13 chimes in total. And with the final chime, the room changed. Marcus saw someone standing behind him. The air turned still. The tick of the other clocks resumed only backward. And in the reflection of the clock's glass face, he turned. No one there, but the reflection remained. A man in 1920s clothing, wide-eyed, mouth open in a scream that never came. As Marcus stepped closer, the reflection blinked, and then it whispered from behind the glass. "It's not a clock. It's a door." The glass rippled like water just for a moment, then went still. The ticking stopped, and the room was silent again. Marcus found a journal hidden in a locked drawer beneath the clock. It belonged to his grandfather. The 13th hour is not measured in minutes, one entry read, but in memory, guilt, and regret. It is not for telling time, it is for taking it back. Can another shake your hand? I saw Eleanor again. She hasn't aged a day. But she's not my wife, not anymore. Marcus remembered Eleanor's grandmother. She died in 1962. The next night, Marcus wound the clock. He didn't know why. At midnight, it ticked again. Chimes began. By the 13th, the air turned icy. The other clocks on the wall began chiming too. Not in unison, but screaming over one another in broken time signatures. And then came the whispers. They came from inside the clock, from the gears. A chorus of overlapping voices. He left us. He built the clock to hold us. But time doesn't forget. Neither do we. Marcus backed away. The glass cracked slightly. In the morning, Marcus noticed something strange. The calendar still said Tuesday, but it was Monday again. The radio played the same news. His phone updated to the previous day. Emails he'd already answered were unread. He checked his security camera from the night before. At 12:13 a.m., the footage glitched. The black clock turned slightly toward the camera. Fire, water, blades, it repairs itself. It is older than our family. We did not build it. We found it. Or rather, it found us. It shows you what you lost. But if you look too long, it takes something back. And for a full minute, the reflection of Marcus was gone. Marcus found more entries in the journal, darker ones. The clock cannot be destroyed. I've tried. If you chime the 13th hour, 3 nights in a row, the veil lifts. In the margins, a single line. My brother never came out. His time was used. Chapter 10. Night 3. Marcus stared at the clock as midnight approached. He knew what would happen. He had rung it twice. Once more and the veil would lift. He waited. The clock ticked, slow and deliberate. The first chime hit like a wave of nausea. By the 13th, the world tilted. Someone knocked from inside the clock.
The knock came again. 3 soft taps from inside the clock. Marcus backed away, heart thudding. But something pulled him forward like gravity, like memory. He placed his hand on the cold glass. It rippled beneath his fingers. And for a second, his reflection wasn't his. It was younger, 20 years ago. The day his mother died. The day he said something he never forgave himself for. A faint voice whispered from inside, "Would you do it differently, if time gave you the chance?" The door creaked open. Not the front panel. The entire body of the clock shifted open, revealing not gears, but darkness. Endless, breathing, swallowing dark. He stepped inside. The air shifted instantly warmer, damp, filled with the scent of wet wood and burning paper. A long corridor stretched beyond the clock. No light, no source, just amber glow pulsing from the walls like veins. As he walked, he saw rooms to his left and right, each one containing moments from his life, frozen behind warped glass. Himself yelling at his father. A birthday party where no one came. A hospital bed. His grandfather, still alive, mouthing something Marcus couldn't hear. The whispers returned. Every tick costs a memory. Every chime steals a piece. Do you really want her back? At the end of the corridor was a single red door. No knob, just a brass plaque. Do not open unless you intend to stay. He turned to leave. The corridor behind him was gone. Only the door remained. Marcus reached out. His fingers shook. As he touched the wood, a woman's voice came through, soft, familiar. "Marcus, I'm still here." It was his mother's voice. He had never forgiven himself for ignoring her last phone call. She had died in her sleep 20 years ago. But now he could hear her. She was behind the door. He opened it. And there she was, sitting in a chair, facing the wall. Her silhouette illuminated by the soft glow of the clock, now somehow inside the room with them. But something was wrong. "Mom?" he whispered. She turned slowly. Her face was unchanged. Eyes warm, gentle. She didn't blink. And where her shadow should have been, there was none. "You came back," she said. "You remembered." He ran to her, dropped to his knees. "I'm sorry," he said, tears falling. "I should have answered. I should have come." She reached out, stroked his hair. "It's okay," she whispered. "Time gave me back to you. But now it needs something in return." Marcus didn't understand, until he turned and saw the second chair empty, waiting. The clock chimed once in the room. Then again, slowly building. His mother stood up. The clockkeeper. The 13th hour is not a gift. It's a bargain. One life in, one life out. She smiled, and for a moment, she looked like the thing in the mirror again. Something stepped out of her shadow, something tall and twitching, made of splinters and minute hands. Faces staring at him from the walls. Reflections speaking things he never said. It placed a cold hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Choose," it said. "Stay or take her place again." Marcus ran. Back through the corridor, which now bent and twisted, clocks screaming on every side. "You left her. You forgot. You used the time. Now give it back." He burst through the entry door of the grandfather clock. Into the shop. Into morning. Only outside the window, horses, gas lamps, dirt roads. Everything was wrong. The shop was older, darker. The air smelled of pipe smoke and ink. On the wall, a newspaper read, October 17th, 1893. Local watchmaker missing after strange fire. Marcus staggered back. No, no. The clock ticked behind him. The 13th hour was still active. He hadn't escaped. He had been rewound. In the mirror, Marcus saw the clockkeeper again, wearing his face. He grabbed the journal off the old counter. The same journal his grandfather kept, only now it was his. The entries had changed. I thought I could go back. I thought I could undo it. I thought time was a river, but it's a noose. And I tied the knot myself. The final line. When the clock strikes 13, it doesn't take you back. It pulls you in. The door opened. The bell above jingled. A young man stepped into the shop, looking around, confused, waiting. Time was supposed to stop. But for Marcus, or what remained of him, the chimes never truly ceased. Even inside the stillness of the black clock, there was movement, subtle things. A rhythm not aligned with hours or minutes, but with something far older, the ticking of teeth, the shifting of shadows. And in the reflections of mirrors across Greystone Hollow, his eyes sometimes blinked, watching people who no longer remembered his name. But he remembered all of them, especially the ones who wound the clock. At the town's small historical society, a young archivist named Nina Whitaker discovered something strange in the digitized records. A liai labeled simply 13.wav. It wasn't music. It was a recording of a clock chiming. But on the 13th chime, the audio reversed. Beneath the distorted gonging, a voice whispered, "Take my place. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes." She closed the file. The whisper echoed for 6 seconds after the laptop powered off. Nina awoke to find her bedroom window open. A man stood in the street below, unmoving, his coat flapping in a wind she couldn't feel. She blinked. He was gone. But the black clock she'd seen earlier that day, in the museum basement, sealed behind glass, appeared in her hallway that night. Impossible. She lived alone. She locked the doors. Yet when she stepped closer, she could see herself inside the clock face. Older, eyes hollow. Behind her reflection, a man mouthed the words, "Your time's already started. Not everyone sees the black clock. Only those with fractured regrets, buried guilt. Echoes too loud for silence to smother. It doesn't haunt the innocent. It waits for those starving for one more second. It doesn't feed on time. It feeds on what you trade for more of it." And Nina? She had a name she never told anyone. The name of the boy she let drown in summer camp. The boy whose hand she could have grabbed. The boy who screamed her name as the water pulled him down. The clock chimes for Nina. Each night, she hears the voice again. You could have saved him. The chimes are a door. Do you want to open it? And one night, she does. She finds herself in the lake, knees submerged, holding out her hand again, this time reaching for the boy. She grabs it. Only his fingers are splintered. Bone. Clockwork. He pulls her under. And when she wakes up, it's morning, but everything is in reverse. The hands on her watch spin counterclockwise. Her phone won't turn on. And in the mirror, she's missing her shadow. Back inside the black clock, Marcus feels her arrival. He's not alone anymore. But he also knows what she doesn't. There is no end to the 13th hour. Only layers. And as each new soul enters, the clock grows hungrier. It is a house with infinite rooms. Each memory a hallway. Something opens deeper within. Each regret a key. And when all keys are turned, something even Marcus fears. In the darkest part of the 13th hour, beyond reflections, behind memory, there is a room. Inside, a man with no face. His body is carved from gears. His fingers are made of broken timepieces. He built the first clock, not to keep time, but to trap it. He speaks in bells. His name is not spoken, only heard in the pause between seconds. He feeds the clock, and it feeds him souls. Nina stands now in a memory that isn't hers. She sees Marcus as a child, crying over a broken pocket watch. She sees herself beside him, though they never met. The clock is stitching regrets together, crossing timelines, merging guilt into one long echo. Every soul that enters makes it stronger. And she realizes this isn't a prison, it's a machine. And it's still being built. Clocks aren't supposed to dream, but this one does. It dreams of what it once was. A heartbeat in the dark. A wound in time. A door that should have never been opened. In the rewind of VCRS, in the stutter of power outages. And now, in its dreams, the people it has taken begin to remember who they once were, before they were made of silence and glass. They begin to scream. And in the waking world, people hear it in the ticking of antique clocks. Time isn't breaking, it's remembering. Nina reaches the 13th chime again. But this time, she speaks. Take it back, the echo folds. The reflection of herself in the glass begins to bleed in reverse. Time coughs, the gears slow. And for one single moment, she feels free. But the clock laughs.